Let's talk about Severance Season 2, episodes 7 and 8. So we'll give our thoughts with no spoilers, just like a high-level overview and our scores, and then we'll give a spoiler warning before we get into talking about spoilers. So, Alex, you want to go ahead and start with episodes 7 and 8, what your thoughts were on them?
Sure, yeah. I'll do an individual score for both. So the episode 7, I absolutely loved this episode. I thought this episode was filmed beautifully. God, the transitions in this episode, I was like mind blown. Like I thought the camera work, transitions, music, I loved everything about this. To me, this is up there with that forest episode. So I think I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. I think I liked it more in the fourth episode just because I feel like it furthered the story more, and it also gave some insight on a key relationship that I feel like we needed.
Yeah.
And it was just filmed beautifully.
It was
filmed so good. And the acting was good. And also just the concept of the episode. I'll get to it in spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything. It's such an interesting episode. This was a 10 out of 10 for me. And then episode 8, unfortunately, complete opposite. I think this was the worst episode of the season. I give it a 5 out of 10. I thought it was boring. I'm going to be honest. And I don't mind slow episodes, but I thought it was boring. I thought, yes, the revelation at the end of the episode was good, but it could have been done way quicker, way better. And I don't know if this was a me and Kara issue, but it was hard to hear the voice, the talking in this episode.
Huh, I didn't have that issue.
And I read something online, other people are having that issue, like they were talking so quiet. And I don't know if maybe I had the volume lower, but Kara and I both could hardly understand them half the time. I had to turn, so I usually watch it with subtitles, so yeah. I feel like I'm being harsh, and I probably am being a little too harsh, but I did not like this episode. After the episode, I looked at Kara, I'm like, this is boring. 5 out of 10. I didn't find it interesting at all. The revelation at the end was interesting, but again, I felt like I didn't need a whole episode on it. So 5 out of 10, I think it's the worst episode of the season. That being said, 5 out of 10 is still an average on our scale. I just don't think it's anything better than an average. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I'll talk more about it in spoilers. But yeah, what were your thoughts?
Interesting, yeah. We'll start with episode 7. I 100% agree with episode 7. It was an amazing episode. Just the way it was shot from a visual standpoint was insane, how good it looked. And like the visual storytelling it did was top notch. It had great acting. The whole vibe of this episode, it kind of made everything else feel more sinister or like darker somehow, even though like the whole show feels kind of sinister and dark. Yeah. They somehow upped the ante on that. It was a crazy episode. I loved it. I agree with you. I also gave it a 10. It was my favorite episode of the season, right up there with the forest episode for sure. Episode 8, I agree with you that it was a slower episode. I can see how you'd think it's boring. It wasn't the most action-packed, or like we didn't learn stuff every step of the way. Like there was definitely some downtime. I still enjoyed it. I think it still had very high production quality. It was also a shorter episode. When I saw the runtime on this, I was like, oh, it's only like 39 minutes or something.
Yeah, after like the recap and the opening.
Yeah.
Or there was no opening, but yeah, it's like 38 minutes. It still felt long for me. I'm sorry, continue.
It wasn't my favorite episode. I will agree with you. I think I gave it a 7. I think it changes some things, how I view some things. Like if I were to go back and rewatch it, I feel like it would shift some things in the way I would rewatch it. We did get some cool reveals, but it did take a while to get there. And there's a couple other things that I have questions about. They may be answered, but how I'm thinking about it now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So yeah, I gave it a 7. I thought it was high production quality. Wasn't my favorite episode. Yeah. Definitely slower, but there were still some good scenes and I liked it. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I could see that. It did feel, it still had the great camera work and the visuals and landscape shot.
Good acting too. I feel like the acting was pretty good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get it, but we could talk about it in spoilers. So yeah. You both 10 out of 10 for episode 7.
Yep.
And then episode 8, I did a 5 and you did a 7.
7,
okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Yeah, I want to talk about spoilers.
Yeah, let's get into spoilers. So spoiler alert for Severance Season 2, episodes 7 and 8.
Okay, I want to talk about episode 8 first because I feel like we're going to talk more about episode 7.
Yeah, sure.
My issue is, so episode 8, I get what you're saying, but for me, it took too long to get there. It's a character I don't necessarily care about. The landscape was interesting, but there's just so many scenes that felt dragged on. Everything about it was so, and I'm fine with slow, but it wasn't an interesting slow for me. It just wasn't. I don't know.
I could see that. I think what brought it up for me was the world building of like what Lumen does.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I kind of felt like it was almost, so they go to like the ether factory, right? And they talk about the ether factory and how there's kids working there. And at one point the guy even says like, oh, do you want to get high like before we stirred the vat for 8 hours or something? It almost felt like Lumen set this up as almost like a Severance, like the kids were getting high and becoming like a different person and doing the vats and then coming out and sobering up. And like it felt like an initial step of Severance, or like their first attempt at it. And then like seeing how the town was just so ran down and old and people are getting high on ether and like passing out, and just how dilapidated it was. I thought that was interesting to see how they have been destroying people's lives for a long time.
I like the concept of that too. The idea of it is interesting. I guess for me, maybe it was the point, maybe it was just coming off that amazing episode before. Like, this episode just felt, I don't know, man. And maybe it was just, it's too late in the season. Like, we only have 2 episodes left. It just felt, we haven't seen her. Yeah, maybe it's just because it's out of place. Like, if this would have been like, right after the episode where Mark sees her drive off, maybe I'd be like, okay, then we kind of see where she's going. Yeah, maybe that's the reason, it's the placement. But for me, the scenes just felt dragged, and every time there was talking, for me and Kara at least, it was very hard to understand them. Luckily, I watched with subtitles. Yeah, and I'm assuming since you watched it with Kara, you didn't watch it with headphones, right? You watched it on your TV. I'm assuming. No, I did not watch it with headphones. Because I didn't have that issue with headphones, so I wonder if it was just like bad mix for TV or something. Yeah, that sucks. I've never had an issue with that with the show, but both Kara and I both said like it was hard to hear. I think it was the way they were like they would kind of like whisper almost. Yeah, now that you say that, I could see that, but yeah, with headphones it wasn't an issue. Interesting. And then like they have the loud wind, because it's like by the ocean, so it was, I don't know, I felt like the sound was off. And I don't know, just the scene where she gets to that house with who was that, her aunt or something? Sissy. Sissy. I don't know if it's her aunt or what, but yeah. It dragged on for me. Then she laid on her bed and like that stuff just wasn't interesting for me. Like it just wasn't. Like it was weird, but like for me, not a good weird. It's just not interesting. Yeah, personally. It's definitely not as interesting as like the innies and the outies and trying to figure out that. I could see that, yeah. I just, and the guy that they introduced, I mean, I don't really care about him. We're probably never going to see him again. Yeah. And he wasn't necessarily that interesting. He felt like he was just kind of there, like as a point of view of the town. Yeah. Also, did he just sit out there for like hours while she took a nap? Yeah, I was wondering that too. Weird. Yeah. I don't know, man. It just, I agree with you. I like the concept of knowing that Lumen pretty much used this town, ran it dry, kind of experimented in a way. I like that idea. And I kind of like how the reveal of kind of her drawing up the Severance stuff and like that I like. So yeah, she's the one who basically created Severance. That's interesting. Which is a big reveal, right? Yeah. So I liked where this episode went. It just, for me, it didn't need to be a 40-minute episode. But yeah, it was a lot of like, she gets there, she's like, where is it? And you're like, okay, what is it that she's looking for? And then it takes like 20 or 30 minutes to get to what she's looking for. Like her even just finding the key and then her sitting on everything about this episode was dramatically slow. Did I really need like 3 minutes of her like sitting on the opening the door? I don't know. It just wasn't interesting to me. That part of it. And I still give it a 5, so it's still like average. It's not like I thought it was bad, but I did like the reveal. Like I thought that was interesting, and it kind of shows that Mark's sister, what's her name, Devin, had the right idea of calling her. Because if anyone's gonna know how to fix it, I mean, it's risky because you don't know which side she's on. I kind of hope in the next episode we see like Devin and Mark talking about calling her, because they called her a couple times and then she finally picked up, and I'm surprised Mark even agreed to talk to her, and because I kind of think Ragabi has it maybe right, that I definitely think Cobell harbors some hate against Lumen, but I don't know if she's trustworthy enough to I agree. to trust with the reintegrating thing. So I agree, because she could use that to leverage Lumen or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I got something, I got a secret you want to know about, or I can deliver you Mark or something. Yeah, she could definitely. I don't trust her either, but I mean, she did pretty much create Severance, so like if Mark is gonna have someone help, I mean, I guess last resort kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Which maybe that's what they're thinking.
Her basically creating Severance makes, I think Helena said something in that episode where they talked in the parking lot, or maybe it was before that, where she said, I think you're overestimating your contributions or something. And now after this, it's like, well, she contributed Severance, which is the whole thing.
Yep.
Like, that's so crazy. What a crazy line.
Yeah, seriously. So I see. I can see why you gave it a 7. For me, this was the weakest episode of the whole show, not just the season.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree. It wasn't my favorite, but I still don't think it was bad.
No, definitely not bad. I think I just came off such a high of the episode before.
It really was, which we should talk about.
Yeah, we could talk about episode 7 because, God, it was a beautiful episode.
Yes, it was. That one shot where it goes down through like the servers or whatever with the wires, I heard that was not CG. I heard they made a rig for that. Yeah, I'll try and find the article and put it up on screen. But yeah, if they did that like, practical, that was crazy looking.
Interesting. That's crazy. I think what made me like this more than the 4 episodes, I like them both. I mean, like I said, I could have switched the 4 episode to a 10 for different reasons. But this one, I loved how it answered. Well, it kind of answered questions, but it kind of didn't. But it had such a sci-fi vibe to it, man.
It did.
It gave us like 3 things. It kind of answered questions to where Mark's wife was.
Yep.
And then it kind of answered the question of like what's down that dark hallway, that he's been painting. And then also it deepens the relationship for Mark and his wife that we haven't seen that much of.
Yeah, we really haven't.
No, so I feel like it made me kind of connect and believe in their relationship more through seeing the flashbacks and also seeing her pretty much like a prisoner in this freaking mad scientist floor.
I know. The fact that she has a different innie for every room and they're basically torturing all of them.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, when I found out I'm like, wait, so she's getting severed for all these different like rooms.
Yeah.
So she's getting severed, whatever it was, 20, I don't know how many rooms it was, but
it was a lot.
Yeah. And like she's pretty much being held prisoner down there with that weird scientist dude that's like in love with her.
Yep.
So I really liked how it kind of set a dark tone and kind of a bigger mystery, but it answered it gave us answers, gave us more mysteries, and strengthened a relationship I feel like we should care about more. And I think all while being filmed freaking beautifully with the transitions between like the present.
Oh, so great.
Oh, every time it transitioned, I'm like, my God, that was amazing.
Yeah, and even like her, because at one point she almost escapes, and I thought that escape sequence was beautiful, like with the lights following the people and her like ducking into the side room when she saw lights coming down. And yeah, that looked really sci-fi and really cool.
It was like creepy and dark.
It was. And then when she got to the elevator and it changed her into Miss Casey, it was so heartbreaking. Like, oh, she's not gonna make it out.
She was there. She was there.
The Milchek shows up.
What's his face? The Milchek.
Yeah. Oh,
I still don't know where Milchek stands, man.
I don't know. I think this one, it kind of shows that he still is more with Lumen than with
he's gonna obey Lumen. Yeah. Because God, you're right. That was so like, how do you escape that? You can't escape that.
Yeah, no.
No matter what she knows down on that floor, like every time she goes up that elevator, she's gonna go back to Miss Casey.
Yep.
So it's almost impossible to escape, which is
they did a good job.
Like, that's scary.
Trapping her. Yeah, that is scary.
Oh, and then those scenes where she would go into the rooms, like the dentist room and the Christmas wrapping room, whatever.
Yeah.
With the creepy guy, like, telling me I love you or whatever.
So I saw a post on Reddit where someone was mentioning that her different outfits she wore, because if you notice, they were all from like different, like one looked like an 80s outfit or a 70s outfit, that they were outfits worn by different Egan women, which would make sense for the different time periods. I just don't know the purpose of that, but I saw like pictures of the Egan women and their outfits matched up pretty closely. So I don't know if the different severances are different Egan, like if they're trying to bring back an Egan woman, or I don't know, but that's pretty interesting and weird.
Oh, that is weird. I don't know. Like that is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I do like there's that scene where it showed like the underground computers under the workspace where the guy's like, you're gonna have to let her go, right? Like the dude likes her, loves her.
Yeah, that's weird. I was hoping that chair hit took him out, but I don't think it did.
No. I remember her saying, what's the project Mark's working on? What's the name of it?
Cold Harbor.
Yeah, so she's like, that's the one room I haven't been in. And then obviously they show like the computers under there and they're like, Mark's almost completed, but he's not at his desk, or what is so important about this Cold Harbor?
Yeah, that's the question. I kind of wonder if Cold Harbor references the place in episode 8 because it was like a frozen like harbor town, but I don't know. That could just be a misdirect. I've heard people saying Cold Harbor could be the fact that she had a miscarriage, like how it's like an inhospitable womb kind of thing, and maybe she'll have to relive her miscarriage. I don't know. I've seen a lot of theories, but I don't know if any of them hit it exactly.
Yeah. And it still doesn't answer the question of like how like they're working by feeling of numbers and putting it in a bucket, and then it goes down into that other computer. It's so weird.
Yeah. Did you notice? So there were 4 people watching the 4 like MDR people, right? And did you notice that they all looked like the people they were watching?
I did 100% notice that.
Yeah. What is that? And are those like the quote unquote clones from the Forest episode? Maybe like maybe they used. It's.
I definitely noticed that.
That was weird.
Yeah. I loved this episode. Like,
yeah, it was
the
so
fact
good.
that it kind of furthered the story and was beautifully shot with music and transitions and cemented like a relationship we should care about. Like now, not only do I want Mark to find his wife, I feel bad for his wife.
Yeah, I feel really bad for Gemma. She is trapped.
Yeah,
by this evil company doing horrible things.
Yeah. So now it's not just like, oh, Mark needs to find his wife. It's like, I want to get Gemma out.
Yeah.
This was the perfect episode in the sense of it hit all marks for me. Everything.
And there were, I think, 3 things that made me reevaluate how much reach Lumen has. Like, I think Lumen was looking at Gemma for a lot longer than like when the car crash happened.
Yeah.
When they first met, there was a Lumen logo at the blood drive. Like there was that water drop or blood, whatever. So the blood drive was Lumen, had some connection with Lumen.
Yep.
The fertility clinic, when it was done, it immediately transitioned into that Lumen underground facility, and it looked like exactly the same layout.
Yep.
So maybe the fertility clinic was a Lumen thing, and they were doing testing to see if she was like perfect for Cold Harbor or something. And then the last one, they sent her the thing she was filling out that Mark was like, why are you doing that? I mean,
yes.
I think it was the name of the episode, the Chikai Bardo or whatever. So yeah, they've definitely been looking at her and then probably set up the car crash. Obviously, we kind of knew that already, but yeah, that's crazy how much reach they have.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
What I liked about the episode too is like when it showed the flashbacks, it was so interesting how like bright it was and happy it was, because we're so not used to that.
It was very bright.
And I don't know if you noticed, but throughout the episode, it kind of got a little more grayish and darker.
Yeah, man.
Like
the
after her miscarriage and
was so good.
Yeah, so freaking good. Oh, like it maybe like if you're not like, you know, if you don't review or study it like we do, people might not notice that. Man, if you do pay attention to that stuff, so many little things.
I still think even if you don't like notice it, it does a really good job of just like subtly influencing your emotions and how you're feeling about it. So it definitely still does its job, and it did its job.
This freaking show. I just watched a YouTube video. I should shout him out. It was a video. He was analyzing the main title, like the theme song and
I saw that one.
The sequence. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the music and how he's like it's better than you think, because the way like music theory, you know, with the keys and stuff, it lines up with the innies and outies and
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, just like little things like that. Like you could tell this show is so good.
You can send me that one. I'll see if it's the same one, and we can link it in the description.
It was a really interesting video.
Yeah,
I'll send it to you, and then you could link it in the video. And
yeah, I think it's the same one I watched.
Yeah, it was just like it was recommended on my algorithm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this looks interesting, and I ended up watching the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really cool how even just like the theme song is built so meticulously to match the show of like the innies and the outies and the feelings you get of those. Yeah, it's so cool.
Oh yeah, I found it. It's YouTuber Charles Cornell. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I think that's the one I watched.
It was a really interesting, especially if you like music.
Yeah.
Really interesting video. But I watched it, I'm like, man, they're even putting so much thought just into the opening theme sequence and song.
Yep.
Yeah, this show, it's been great. We have 2 more episodes?
Yeah. 2 more.
Yeah, 2 more episodes. Oh, it's a lot for me to get. Like, I get excited with shows, but like, I can't wait for Friday nights to watch this show.
I know. Same.
Yeah, it's like, it's one of those shows where like, I'm going to be sad when it's over. Like, you know it's going to end on some sort of cliffhanger again.
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, same.
It was awesome. Watch the dang show.
This is my favorite show on TV right now. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, oh, for sure. It's not even a question. I got Brandon to start watching it.
Oh, nice.
He's only on season 1.
Okay.
Just wait, dude. I can't talk to you until you watch it. Alex. I don't want to spoil
seriously.
anything. Like, you think it's weird now, just keep watching.
Yep.
Cool.